Welcome back, everybody. I'm Gavin Canfield, and this is my YouTube channel. Today, we will be working on the 1954 John Deere 40c dozer that you see behind me. You may have seen this in some previous videos on my channel. This machine doesn't get used very often because it is from 1954. It does only have about 18 horsepower, but don't let that fool you. A lot of different gear sets, and this thing's got a lot of torque. So, the main problem and reason why I haven't been using this is my brother-in-law had been using it, and while he was using it, the frame rail here that goes through the front idler had broke off, and you can see that section is right here. The cross section of that is very brittle, had been cracked for a while by the looks of things. And it's actually very thin in certain spots. So I had been going back and forth toying with the idea of just taking a section of metal, cutting it, and plating it and putting it back in there. The problem we have is if you plate something, there won't be any room for this spring which adjusts the tension on the track. So what I have done is I have drug home a parts dozer that is identical to this, that has a 4-roller undercarriage. And what we are about to do is we are going to take the tracks off and we are going to unbolt what clamps the whole track assembly to the body of the machine. And we're going to pull this one off and throw a different one on. If we are able to salvage this, maybe we'll do that and then put it up for sale for somebody else that's in need of one. But to get this thing back operational so I can start moving it and, kind of get it out of my way in the garage for my various other projects that I have around me, we need to at least just get this thing so it's operable. So let's dive into it here. We need to start by loosening up these track tensioners. So we'll get some wrenches on those, and once we take off the tension, our master link happens to be right here. Now, I have had the tracks off on this once. Funny backstory, when this thing originally was with its last owner of 21 or 22 years, this machine had come into their shop, and it was due to buying it and the track was on backwards. Well, they got it in the shop, and unfortunately, it became a shelf. 21 years later, this thing was dug out, and all we had to do was clean the points and put a new ignition switch on it. Obviously, put some new gas in it, fired right up. So the very first thing I ever did with this was change the track, the correct direction. And since then, we did get a lot of use out of it. My brother-in-law used it to clear an entire lot, pushing stumps and, leveling out the area for his parents' new house to be put in. A tractor trailer hauling a modular actually got stuck going up a hill. They hooked this to the front of the semi-truck and towed the truck, the trailer, and part of the house up the hill. So don't let the size fool you. This thing is a capable machine, and we're gonna get her fixed up. Oh, wow, this side's already loose. Now, when my brother-in-law had this, the track was pretty loose, so I did help him break these nuts free. It looks like that one either has too much slop in it and it can't hold it tight, or just backed off. Now, this one seems to be a different size. Let's see here. Interesting. This one may have gotten stripped a little bit when we were adjusting it last. Although it is a good sign that it's still moving. hopefully we can get enough adjustment out of these rods before we get to the really scary parts, and we'll be able to get the tension off the track and the track actually off this machine. Now, the downfall of this style track is this adjuster's not only out here where you can easily access it, it's also on the inside of the track frame underneath it. So I have to figure out how I'm going to loosen up that now. All right, so you probably can't see what I'm actually doing, but you can see that I am in fact well underneath this machine. And in the future, it would probably be a lot nicer if I had jacked the machine up so I had more room than literally just the width of my body. But let's see if we can get these nuts to break loose. Oh, I don't know if I'm strong enough in this position. That hits the frame that way. I think something happened. Wow. All right, so now that we got that all out of there, we can work on this master pin. Now, in normal situations, this master pin should be pretty difficult to get out. However, this one's a 1954, and I think there's a lot of play in this stuff. So we may be able to get that out with just a pry bar. Yep, it is already coming out. Out. All right, now that the track's broke free, we can get to the bolts that we need to get to. We'll obviously have to unravel this chain some more. Do that. Now, let's see. All right, I want you guys to comment below and tell me the likelihood of these bolts coming out of here, assuming they've never been touched since 1954. Because from my perspective, it's not looking good. I'm thinking what we're gonna have to do is take the torch or the grinder and cut them off. And yeah, I don't think I'll even get a socket on the head of these things, but we're gonna try it anyway. Let's see. that one is a hard no. That one doesn't fit. This one we can probably make fit. That just rounded off the head. And that one also doesn't fit. Nope. So, I think it's safe to say we'll be using either the torch or the grinder here. Wow. That'll scare you when it lets loose. Well, there's one down. A lot more to go. Got a battery. The whole track frame is now free. So what we need to do at this point is we need to jack the body of the machine up. That will take the weight off of this sprocket here, and basically get it out of being tangled in with the track chain and the rest of this assembly. And then we should be able to just slide, I say that, it's hundreds of pounds, should be able to just slide this section of the undercarriage away from the machine and be ready to bring the other one in. All right, now with the track assembly off, I just want to show you, you can probably tell now there's no frame going through there anymore, so it can't keep anything stabilized. All right, now keeping in mind this is 1954, this roller is good. This roller is good. This one is also good. That one's destroyed. Now, I think part of the reason why that one's destroyed is look at the front idler. That's destroyed. So it had a lot of play in the front idler, which in turn most likely was putting a lot of stress on this idler, or this roller, and the frame rail itself, which you can see is all brittle. Let's see here. Yeah, it's all rusted and brittle, and it was cracked. Now, in reality, if you were a fabricator, this whole assembly would really not be that hard to make. You would just have to have 2 of these channels. You'd have to drill and tap a couple holes for where your rollers go and throw in a piece of cross bracing. The most difficult part about it would be mimicking this support box here that goes behind the front idler. And then I don't know how you would get these V-blocks in there, but you could even maybe machine new V-blocks that were threaded and weld that on. I don't know. But like I said, we're not going to do that because we're not a fabricator. We are going to strip it off the other machine and put it on this one. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's about 35 degrees here in the garage. Now, we're going to go outside where we just got about 6 inches of snow today, and to this other dozer, and I'm pretty convinced it's actually warmer out here than it is inside. So, give you a quick view. Here is the parts dozer. Now this side already has a track off, so I'm going to steal this side. However, the passenger side, which is the side we took off inside, still has a track. So I am undecided. I may rob some more parts off this and then put it back up for sale, for, you know, scrap value, or just take it to the scrapyard. My one buddy keeps hassling me and keeps ragging on me, telling me that I need to just put it down in the woods somewhere, you know, and just let it rot the way like all the old farmers would do. But I'm not a farmer, so let's see. No, guess it is the colder out here. I don't know why. It feels warmer out here, but let's see. The bolts on this still look to be in decent shape, so I'm going to try my chances here with the impact and a wrench and see if we can get it off. All right, so those are clearly going to need some heat. I don't want to cut these off if possible, because if I cut them off, then I'll have an even harder time trying to repurpose this whole lower section. So now I can see now why this is the way it is, because they were unable to get the original OEM bolts out of there, so they cut them off, and then they got these other style. Well, they use the same V things, but they just bolted them through, did a drill through and bolted them. But out here, I don't know, we'd really be cutting it close on room if we tried to do that out here with the spring tensioner. So let me see, let me get the right socket for these and see if we can break them through, because they have a nut on them. What in the world? It appears that this hardware is all mix matched. So the sizes vary depending on which bolt you're trying to get out. There's one downfall to working in the snow. Lose things pretty easily. See if we can get these things cooled down a little quicker and give her a hit with the impact. By golly, it worked. Holy cow. That thing's gonna be too hot to get it back out of there now, though. All right. That assembly is free. Now, the hardest part is getting it in the garage. Yes, I have an excavator and a track loader and multiple pieces of equipment that could get this with little ease into the garage. But you know, I won't do that. I'll sit here and break my back trying to drag it across the ground to get it to the garage floor. So, let me start that process now. That's the heaviest wheelbarrow I've ever moved. Honestly, we're pretty good though. But I'm sure my lower back will feel it tomorrow when I go to get out of bed. And it reminds me that I just moved that from outside the garage door around the building and in. All right, so before we go just slapping this thing on, there are a few things that I want to check. I know I don't use this machine a lot, but I can't get myself to just throw it on here without reviewing a few items. So, one major thing is the rollers. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and one of them does not look like the rest. So this roller here is different, and I don't think that's by design. It's missing the whole center section, and it's got tons of play in it. So this one here we definitely need to remove and swap with one of the good ones from the old track frame. Now, second thing is, because we didn't take off the track frame from the correct side of the machine outside, all of the grease fittings are on the opposite side of this frame. So if we tip this frame back up, all of the grease fittings are on this side, which would mean that they would be underneath the belly of this machine. And let's be honest, people barely grease the fittings when they can actually reach them, let alone when it would be underneath the machine. Not a chance. So they would also tell me that we would have to basically flip every single roller so the grease fittings are out here. Okay, not the end of the world. You know, we can definitely do it as long as the hardware comes out when we try to get it out, which it's probably not, so we'll have to just cut it off and get new hardware. But the last thing I wanted to check was, obviously, our spring tensioner. The threads are actually still looking pretty good on this, so I'm actually really happy about that. But the other thing I wanted to check was this wheel here, the front idler, really does not have any side-to-side movement. This one's actually still in really good shape. It's only moving like that because there's snow stuck in it now when I spin it. But overall, this whole assembly is in pretty good shape. So we're gonna have to swap a few of those parts, spin a few things around, and then loosen up the spring tensioners before we slap it on here. This way, when we go to put the chain on, we don't have to fight it. Nice. That was a Christmas miracle if I've ever seen one. Wait till you see the lack of threads that are on this bolt. They're not even gonna come out. Look at that. There is no threads on that. No, that's exactly what we didn't want to do. Because now we'll have to weld something to that to get it out. All right. What can you do? Can't win them all. All right, it's safe to say after that fight, we'll need all new hardware. So all new 3/8 hardware, and then I don't know if this stuff is 5/8 or 1/2 inch, but it's fine thread, so I'll have to get a bunch of those. And yeah, get this all reassembled with the rollers facing the right way. Now, these rollers here have the nipple grease fitting, which is fine, but they do tend to break off a lot easier, especially when you're pushing dirt. So these ones have the other style where the grease head has to slide over it from the side. So I don't know if I really want to go through all that process again of tearing that all apart, but I might do it and just take those rollers and put them on here. And then I actually have some spare rollers from another project, so I might just grab them, and this way all four will be the same and they'll be swapped the same direction. But all right, at this point I think we need to clean some stuff up, get some new hardware, and then we can reassemble. A 12-point socket of a larger size will work for a square nut. Now the square nut is from replacing the bolts and nuts in the tracks of the 550, but worked perfect for getting that out. We got 2 more to extract, and then we can clean up this area and start reassembling our rollers. That one is a through bolt. What do we got for the last one? Also a through bolt. All right, those are off. Let's get this cleaned up. Cool. All right, so we need to assemble this in a way that the grease fittings are shining the right direction. So we flip this over, grease fittings will be outside, we'll face out. I did manage to get some new hardware. Definitely was not the cheapest, because these are half 20s, so they're the fine threads. But nonetheless, we got them. It's got to go back together, so get some anti-seize. I may chase all of the threads first. Before I do this, so we have the best success. All right, all of the rollers are back on. I did take this roller off of the old undercarriage and put it on here because this one was good. So now we have all these on. We have all the grease fittings on the right side for when we flip this over. So we just got to get the rock guards back on here, which may be easy in this position in case we have to fight any of the hardware. And then we can flip the whole assembly over and slide it back underneath the dozer. There we go. Pretty good. Now we kind of have it where we want it. We got to figure out how to straighten that out. Some heat, some hammers. All right, everyone, sorry, but the power is out, so the lighting's a little dark here, but I'm gonna try to heat this up, see if we can bend it straight. the bolts in. We just need some more heat to try to bang that thing down further. See if the torches have one last try in them. No, I think we're out of luck with the torches. And I don't have another tank. It's full, so the only other thing we can do is brute force. Well, by golly, I think that pretty much did it. Wow. There you have it. I think that's close enough for what we're doing. That's awesome. The only other thing we got to do is put these carriage bolts back in, but I broke 2 of them off, so I got to see if I can get more. They're 9 inches long, so that's kind of hard to... Most places carry up to 8 inches in stock, and you got to order in longer. So, but let's throw it back on the track there. See how she looks. All right, so we still don't have any power, and I just made my 3rd trip to get hardware because apparently I bought the wrong size the first time. And so if you guys own or know of a great company to get hardware bins that are organized with all the hardware, please leave a comment. Please let me know. Reach out to me via my email that's on my page. I really want to get set up with a really good hardware organizer with all the hardware and the easy way to restock it. I am sick and tired of going and buying hardware because all these projects, none of the old hardware ever lasts or can be reused. So it's time to get something here that I can just pull from and I don't have to keep driving and wasting time. But let's see if we can get these clamps back on. I do apologize if the lighting's not the best. We are currently in the middle of a power outage because we have some severe wind outside. So Cool, that is gonna work. I don't even need to put those under there. I can put them down below. Now, as we mentioned earlier, from the factory, these would have gone and threaded into those holes. Somebody has previously cut these out and has just done this bolt through method. So we are going to follow suit, so we don't have to make this any more difficult than it already is or has been. Maybe we won't be putting the lock nut washer on the bottom side. Interesting. This is gonna be fun. Socket do we need? The backside is installed. Like I said, they're supposed to be here and here, but they torched these out. So now if we spin this around, we can get set up for those ones. The undercarriage is back on. So now we just have to get our track over the sprocket and the front idler, get our master link back in, or pin, and tension up the tracks. So let's see if I can prop this light up somewhere. Let's see what we can do. Oh, duh. I'm sitting here thinking, why is this not working? Obviously, when we took the old track frame off, we released the tension of the spring. On this one, I never did that. That was stupid. We got power. All right, a lot of work later. We have the whole undercarriage back on. The adjusting really sucks, but you have to do it. I was trying to do it with a ruler to begin with, but you have to make sure that, you know, the springs are the same size, they're the same stiffness. So I ended up switching to the tape measure and measuring the overall length because when I looked at it by eye, I could see one side was applying more pressure than the other. So with that said, whole undercarriage is on, it's tensioned. Now, yes, the track is currently too tight. There should be, I believe, right around an inch of sag. However, we want to fire up the machine and track it forth, back and forth a few times before I go loosening it, because there is a good chance that any of the slop in the pins and bushings of the track down below has not been pulled out of it because of the weight of the machine. So we will throw the battery of this on the charger because this machine has not been started probably in a year and a half or 2 years. And we'll get this thing fired up and we'll take it for a test burn and make sure that it works. But without taking it outside and really doing a test run, it's kind of hard to tell. With how cold it is right now, this is going to be a bear to start. It's going to take me at least another hour to plug it in, let it warm up before I can even back it out. push it out of here with a dozer, or wait for a little bit nicer day, take it outside, buzz it around, and make sure everything's good to go. At that time, I'll probably take it and store it out in the shipping container. It'll free up this area, and we can start working on some more projects. So that thing is annoying. All right, so I think I'm gonna pretty much wrap this video up here. That's the rebuilding of one side of the John Deere 40c undercarriage. I'm gonna probably keep the other parts to do the other side, because the other side does look a little brittle in the same spot that this side failed on. I'll probably rob a few more parts off the parts dozer and then send the rest of it down the road so I don't have it just hanging out here. But if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Really helps out the channel. I do apologize, I haven't been as active on the camera lately. This year, I did some major changes in my career path. I went full-time with my own business, and I'm very fortunate. I was so busy, I really didn't have much time to film. Sorry for you guys, but I will make it a better point or a higher priority to get some good content coming out. I have a couple things in the pipeline that I know I'm going to be working on here, and maybe some things that we're going to be dragging home and seeing if we can get running. So please stay tuned, and like I said, hit the subscribe button. You'll get notified as soon as those videos come out. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.